Good evening. This is Uta from ICF UAE. I welcome everybody who has joined our ICF webinar. We have quite some interesting webinars for the last quarter of 2018 coming up. So I'm very happy to introduce Mary Cravets today. She's joining us from California on her Sunday. Thank you very much for that, Mary. So. Mary is not a coach, but she is a client generation expert and an international speaker. And she is, especially in the coaching community, known for helping coaches on how to approach marketing and how to grow their businesses. So she has worked with previous CFOs of bigger companies like Microsoft, and she has been able to help people to grow their business by 50 or to up to 50 to 100% to increase their incomes. Mary is located in California, and she is taking quite a time difference to speak to us here in the UAE. So I thank you very much. I will hand over to Mary now, this is an open round, so she has 2-3 times where she invites people for discussion, so please feel free to raise your hands and unmute yourself to ask questions. So Mary, I hand over to you.
Great, thank you so much, Uta, and welcome to those of you who have taken your time to invest in your business and invest in yourselves. I feel just so lucky to be able to present, and I feel actually really lucky for being around in this time in our history where it's so easy to communicate halfway across the planet. I mean, it's something I think we take for granted and we get aggravated when the technology doesn't work, but I just still have to take a moment to be really appreciative for that. So I'm glad you're here. Our topic today is communicate your value in less than 30 seconds. So let's jump right in. First thing I want to do is just say, does anybody ever feel like this, that your brain has too many tabs open? There's just so much going on. There's so many options going on. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed when you're thinking about, well, when you're thinking about life in general, but in our instance here, when you're thinking about your business. Well, I want to reassure you that today is not about doing more. I hope that's okay with you. We're not looking to do more. We're looking to simplify and how to understand how to maximize what's already working. Because you come to this very accomplished, very smart, and what I come to you with to offer is some structure so you can bring your gifts and your brilliance and express them in a way that brings you more results with less effort. So here's what we're going to cover today. Number 1, we'll uncover the habit that is blocking your results. Number 2, you're going to create your authentic introduction so prospects quickly say, I need you. And number 3, I'm going to show you the 6 essential elements of an effective client generation system so you can grow your practice without working nights and weekends. Now, you may be asking why number 3 is necessary, because we came here just for the communication piece, the introduction piece. But I'm going to teach you that, but it's just one part of a system that all works together to bring you clients consistently, because really, that's the goal. It's not about just having a great introduction and then walking away. It's about, what do you do with that? Where does that go next? What other elements do you need to make that really effective so that you are getting clients, you are transforming lives, and you are making a great living doing it? After I go through the content, I'm going to do my very best to save some time for some Q&A, and we're going to wrap up with a drawing. I want you to stay to the end so you get everything, so I incentivize by doing a drawing at the end. So what we're going to do is start with, I want to find out, why is this topic important to you? And if you want to just put that in the chat area, I'd like to find out first from you what it is you're really looking forward to today. Go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm going to try to take a drink of water while you're doing that. Okay, I am hoping I can actually see the chat when it comes in, because I'm not seeing anything yet. So I'm going to give it about 5 seconds. because I don't want to kill too much airtime if you're satisfied with not giving feedback, which is also fine. This is your time. All right, let's see. I know some coaches are seeking how they can find new clients. Fantastic. I love it when people show up and want to go beyond the topic, because I'm always looking to over deliver and go beyond the topic, because there's always more to learn. Okay, I'm going to move on. Let me give you a little background of where this content is coming from, because I think it's important to understand. I think it's, for me, when I'm learning from someone, I want to know, like, where did this come from? Is this just something you made up in your head, or are you really someone who has accomplished what your methods are saying they can accomplish? So here's my background. Well, today I have a great business with clients I love. My structure is very similar to coaches. I spend a lot of time with service delivery. That's where I work with most of my time. I have great business with clients I love. We're tracking for the 500,000 mark US. I get to travel and spend time with the people who are most important to me. And the truth is that the first couple of years of my business looked nothing like this. I was running in every direction. I was busy, not making a lot of money, severely undervaluing what I do because I wasn't being intentional about my actions. And what happens when you run around like that? Well, you burn out. It was not pretty. And at the time, I had to figure out very quickly how I was going to save my business. It was not wildly successful, but it was paying the bills. And I only had about 4 hours of energy to invest in it each week. So I had to figure out things quickly. And the only thing that was running through my head, the only clear thought I had, and I suggest you write this down because this is the foundation of everything that I teach in every class. The only thought that I was able to clearly articulate in my head was, what's working? What's working? That's all I had time for. I didn't have time to waste on all of the things on the internet that people were saying I had to do. I didn't have time to waste on things that I could try or play with new technologies. I had 4 hours to concentrate, so I had to focus on what's working. And from that, what happened was my business grew while I was sick. My business tripled the following year, and it's doubled several times since then. So this focus on what's working, being very intentional, very much valuing what you do, is it's just the foundation for everything. And when I went through this whole system, I learned 3 things. And that is, I know 3 things for sure. Number 1, anyone can learn to create a steady stream of great clients. I did it when I was sick. You do not have to be born with a marketing gene. You can learn this. Number 2, to win in business, you must have a customized strategy. Now, all this talk of structure may have made some of you kind of cringe a little bit or go, oh, I don't know if I like this, but this is the good news here. Number 2, you've got to have a customized strategy. So everything is about leaning into your strengths, your ideal client, your preferences. And number 3 that I learned is that when you do it right, building your business can be easy and does not have to be overwhelming. Now, today we have a very short amount of time here today. I'm going to give you everything I possibly can, but I do want to ensure that we're able to continue our connection beyond this presentation. So to do that, I want to provide some free resources. I want you to send an email to me right now. This is one of the 2 times you get to multitask. Send an email to me at mary@simplygetclients.com with a subject line of webinar. I'm going to send you the first chapter of my book of strategy and encouragement for the impact-driven entrepreneur, and I'll also give you access to the ongoing trainings I offer. I just did a 5-day challenge. Actually, one of your chapter members participated in it. It was a lot of fun. I do other webinars that you can have access to, articles, and so on. So simply send me an email right now, and then we're going to jump into the content. Now, what you need to know is that everyone who sends me the email, just email mary@simplygetclients.com with subject line webinar. You will go into a drawing at the end of the class for a full copy of the ebook, and you do need to be present to win. All right, let's jump into the content. I'm going to give you a reminder of this at the end in case you missed this. So number one, here's what we're going to dig into first. The habit that is blocking your results. We need to do a little mindset work before we jump into the tactics. So here's the habit that's blocking your results. You can get so busy, caught up in doing, that you don't know what's working. When my clients come to me, they are like you. You're driven, you're willing to work, you want to make a difference in the lives of the people you're serving, but you can get so caught up in being busy that when results do come your way, you don't know how to identify what worked and how it worked so you can duplicate it. Now, this entire talk, like I said, it's dedicated to learning what is working. And I'm going to get to the tactics shortly, but I'm going to start with 2 mindset shifts for you that will provide the foundation for what we're doing and make everything easier today. So here's the first shift. Number 1, be willing for success to be easy. Be willing for success to be easy. Now, there is this rampant belief in business that in order for something to be effective, in order to get results, the method must be complicated. And I'm here to tell you nothing could be further from the truth. Now, I am going to walk through how to express your value, how to do it quickly, concisely. But the truth is if you can't commit to letting business be easier, you can complicate even the simplest plan and can be back and overwhelmed tomorrow. So there's that inside job to do first. So the way to make business easier on you is to change the way you think about it. Anytime you're feeling overwhelmed, get yourself mentally prepared by asking yourself, am I willing for this to be easy? I highly recommend you write this down. You put it on a little note and put it within your field of view. I'm looking at my screen right now and I see the slide. I'm also looking at my computer and I have it on a Post-it note in the upper left-hand corner of my computer. I have to use this every single day as you push into growing and getting into bigger stages and working with better clients and just growing your business. You're always in that place of unknown, and feeling overwhelmed is actually, I think, one of the saboteurs, one of the places that will hold you back. But if you use this question, it's interrogative self-talk. It's been proven to be a 50% more effective than affirmations. I'm not going to go into the research. You probably are familiar with this a little bit. But the reason it works is because instead of merely being a command, this engages your consciousness to look for easy solutions. It taps into your inner resources and values and engages in a way that works. For example, one of my VIP clients, she blocked off 2 days to work on developing a virtual class for the first time. She was very overwhelmed by it, but she kept this question in front of her, and instead of taking 2 days, it took 4 hours. This can be just this one thing. Like if you were to get off the phone right now, which I don't recommend, but if you were, just embracing this could make a tremendous difference in your business. Now, here's the second thing to do to get out of busy, and that is don't settle for small successes. And I want you to just sit with that for a moment. Don't settle for small successes. What word jumps out at you here? Is it settle? Is it small? What I want you to do after this call is to just sit down and say, you know what, where am I selling myself short? Is it my pricing? Is it taking on quote unquote practice clients? Is it taking on corporate gigs when I want to do one-on-one or vice versa? Where is it that you're settling? Anywhere you're doing that, where you feel like you're selling yourself short, you're going to have an internal struggle that is going to make everything else you do harder, and you're sending mixed messages to yourself and to everybody else. You can provide profound transformations, so don't sell yourself short. You've got to really consider, what is it costing you to settle? When you start reaching bigger, when you start valuing what you do better, your work becomes easier. You get to serve higher level clients, and you can really get yourself out of that busy, frantic place. Okay, so that was the mindset piece. Now we want to jump right in to create your client attracting introduction. Now, I want you to really hear this. Your introduction, when someone asks you, what do you do? This is one of the most powerful and underutilized tools you have. Now, why is this? I want you to think of someone who you met and then you, I don't know, went to coffee, and then you saw them again at maybe a networking event or the ICF meeting. And then 5 months later, after having multiple meetings, talk, email, and so on, they finally go, oh my gosh, I get what you do. Maybe I could use you. And maybe they hire you. And that took 6 months. Now, what if instead, when you shake someone's hand and you meet them for the first time, they get what you do immediately? They understand how you can help them. How would that change your business to have someone understand what you do immediately instead of having to take 6 months to do it? And if you've been in business for any time at all, this has happened to you. Now, one of the reasons people will shy away from even thinking about this is because they don't want to be perceived as pushy or salesy, which I totally get. Your instincts are in the right place. I'm going to show you how to use those instincts to go in the right direction. And I want to show you an example first that you may be able to relate to. This is Jared. He worked for a corporation for a long time and never had any problem sharing his services as a consultant with a corporation. But then when he opened up his own business, he felt very nervous. He didn't want to be like, hey, look at me, I'm so awesome. He thought that's what promoting himself had to look like. Well, we worked together and we found a way to market that doesn't make me feel pushy. He actually enjoys. He says, I stopped avoiding marketing. Less than a month, signed his new client. I provide this as encouragement and to show you a lot of times what we're learning here is how to unlearn what we've already been told and do away with old assumptions. So before I give you the formula, let's go through some of the things you may have learned in the past and kind of disentangle them so we can go on to the better way of learning. So here we go. I'm going to go through 3 mistakes and 2 myths. Mistake number 1 is making your introduction about you. If you do not like talking about yourself and you don't want to be all about you in the spotlight, then your instincts are good, because the introduction is not about making it about you, because nobody cares. I mean, it's not that they don't care, it's just that it's not going to make them say, I need you. The mistake number 2 is making it about what you do. One mistake I find coaches make is they want to make sure everyone knows that they are qualified. So you're going to talk about your certifications and your continuing education and the assessments you do, all in the attempt to establish credibility. Well, again, there's nothing here to make someone say, I need you. That's our goal. That's our only goal to keep in mind. And mistake number 3, changing it up to keep it new and interesting. I hear this a lot, that you don't want people to be bored or saying the same thing all the time. I have to tell you, my introduction, it bores me to tears. I go into a little coma every time I say it, because I've been saying it forever and I'm bored with it. However, it's the right one, and it's not about me, and it's about my ideal client, and it works. When you want to be known as the expert in a certain area, you need to have a message, have it be consistent. Otherwise, you're trying to get people to remember a moving target. It confuses people, and confused people don't move forward. They don't say, I need you. And I've said that a couple of times, and this is the fundamental piece that's different than other things that you may have learned. Some people, they teach an introduction and the goal is to connect. Some people teach an introduction and the goal is to make a sale. And my fundamental goal is for you to identify immediately if an ideal client is standing in front of you. And write this down. This is so important, because this is how you know whether you're being successful. This is going to help you identify whether an ideal client is standing in front of you, and do it immediately. Now, once you give your introduction, if they're not your ideal client, it's not like you flip your hair and walk away and storm off. You continue the conversation. But that's the goal. So let's go into the 2 myths. Myth number 1, if you're doing it right, it closes the sale. As I said before, this I think is too big of a job for a 1-sentence, 15-second introduction. It's not necessarily going to close the sale. So if it doesn't close the sale, you're still doing it right if someone says, I need you, if they identify as an ideal client. And myth number 2, if you're doing it right, everyone will understand what you do. If I were to identify one thing that holds people back the most and makes them tweak and change their introduction, by the way, my clients, they hire me, we get this great introduction for them, they go out into the world, it's working, and they'll come back and want to tweak it so that everyone will understand what they do, even though it's working. This is one of the biggest things that will hold you back. I'll give you an example. I worked with a client and we totally dialed in her introduction. She went walking the next morning with 2 of her friends. One was her ideal client and the other was a school teacher. Her ideal client was managers and middle managers. So she said, hey guys, I want to tell you about my introduction. And she gave it, and the guy who was her ideal client said, wow, I could totally use that, and some of my managers could. The school teacher said, I don't get it. So my client came back to me and says, we need to work on it. No, you don't. If your ideal client gets it, that's what's most important. Okay, so let's move into creating your awesome introduction that's going to get people to say, I need you. I want you to start by thinking of your top product or service and the ideal client who wants it right now. Now, just a hint here, when you're thinking about your ideal client who wants your top product or service, your ideal client description does not contain the phrase, I'd be willing to work with. Anytime you describe an ideal client, it will not start with, I will be willing to work with. When you're describing your ideal client, it starts with the very best client I could work with, or the biggest transformation I could provide would be for, and then fill in the blank. So think of that top product or service, because everything we do in your introduction is talking to that top level. Okay, so we're going to go into answering the questions that will create the introduction for you. There's 5 questions. I'm going to go through them quickly and then give you some time to work on this, and we're going to come back and look at, I can help you tweak it a little bit. I'm going to see if anyone will volunteer to put their introduction out here. So here we go. Number 1, who do you work with? This is a very general description. Who do you work with? Is it people, doctors, business owners, people who are moving from one country to the other? Very generic. The next questions are going to drill down, make it more specific. So who do you work with? Very general description. Number 2, how do they feel right now? Your ideal client, whatever they're dealing with right now, how do they feel? Are they frustrated? Are they aggravated? Are they feeling lonely? Are they excited? What are they feeling about the problem that you're going to help them solve? Number 3, what is that main problem? What are they struggling with? What are they struggling with? What is keeping them up at night? Number 4, what surface solution or outcome do they want? This is usually something that's very, it sounds very common. It actually doesn't sound interesting enough to even state. It's kind of thing that they complain about around the water cooler at work or to a friend in a text. I wish I had more time. I wish I knew how to meet people. I wish I knew, just very surface. And then the 5th thing is, what deeper solution or outcome do they want? What deeper solution or outcome do they want? If they were to get what they want in number 4, if they were to have more time or to have more business or to sleep better, what would that allow them to do? What is the thing they really want? Do they want meaningful time with their partner? Do they want to stop working all the time? Okay, now I'm going to give you the fill in the blank formula. Here you go. Write this down or take a screenshot or something, but you're just going to fill in the blanks. And I'm going to give you some examples so you can really tell what this sounds like. So I'm hired by your general description, who are feeling with their problem and who want a surface solution so they can get a deeper solution. Now, here are some examples for you. I hear this all the time. People say, hi, I'm a business coach. Anyone else find this like you, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, I can describe myself as a business coach. People who are working with Fortune 500 companies can describe themselves as business coaches. It doesn't really tell you anything. It doesn't give people anything to identify with to know if this person is the right person to hire. There's nothing to say, I need you. So here is the makeover for I'm a business coach. I work with business owners who are frustrated with client generation and who want to significantly grow their business so they can stop working nights and weekends. Now, this is very similar to my introduction. And I have to tell you that when I'm in front of my ideal client, they lean in and they say, oh my gosh, I need that. Now, here's the thing is that when you have that really dialed in introduction, it doesn't mean everyone's going to magically say they need you. But what you're going to be able to do is sort through the ones who do need you and the ones who don't very quickly. It's going to save you so much time. Okay, here's another example. Hi, I'm a bookkeeper. Wow. Yeah, that one also very generic, boring, not very informative. So how about this? This is actually one that I did for an accountant in South Carolina in the States. Here it is. I work with businesses who are overwhelmed and scattered with having gone through a growth spurt and who want someone else to handle the details because they're falling through the cracks so they can significantly grow the business quickly. Now, this bookkeeper, he changed this one thing in his business. He did everything else the same, and in 30 days, he doubled his referrals. This is powerful. Okay, last but not least, and yes, I picked on the executive leadership coaches because this is probably the most generic and unimaginative, not useful introduction. Tells you nothing. It covers such a wide variety of people and services. Anyway, you get the idea. Here we go. Here's the makeover. I work with newly promoted first-time managers who are feeling in over their heads with their new management role and who want to create a high-performing team so they can fast-track their next promotion. This is one of my favorites of all time. This was with a brand new coach, came out of government, actually. And this was her specialty in government. And we equipped her with this before she really even opened her doors, and it made a profound difference in her clarity and the speed at which she built her business. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second here, and I would like to get some feedback. What did you discover here? In the chat area, or raise your hand, however you want to do that. I'd like to get in the chat area any aha moments. And if you're feeling very brave and you're a quick thinker on these things, go ahead.
I don't know whether you can see the comments, but there's Marjorie who says she has more clarity now.
Okay, great.
Now, I'm not so sure. There were questions before from Denisa. She said, what was myth number 1? But I think that may be related to your first question.
Okay.
Nobody else have come up with anything new.
Okay. I wonder why I can't see them.
If anybody wants to raise the hand, I can unmute you also. So,
sorry, that was me. Dropped something.
No, nobody's raising the hand now. But yeah, oh, very nice and familiar is another comment. Somehow to what design thinking does with personalization tools.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love it when we can take I can take this structure and strategy for business and you can really mesh it and see where it fits with what you've learned already, because that's your best bet. That's where you're going to feel the most confident to do things a little bit differently. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving. If we have questions at the end, hopefully I'm making time for that for sure. So what I'd like you to do at this point is just take a breath. I've got one more kind of big chunk to talk about. That's the client generation kind of big picture. And if you're feeling at all like this is twisting your brain, I want you to know that I want you to invite you to think, to see that this is not an intuitive way of thinking. Marketing messaging demands that you speak from the perspective of not just someone else, your ideal client, but also what they know, not what you know. So you may know that if someone is feeling uncomfortable, it's because they have unresolved issues from their childhood, but all they know is they're uncomfortable and they can hardly get out of bed in the morning. And so it's tapping into their language, what they know, not what you know in all of your expertise. If this is uncomfortable, just breathe with it. I think like 7 years ago, I went through a 3-day seminar on messaging and I cried almost the entire time. It was so uncomfortable. This is a process, and this is why I work with people, because we try to shortcut some of that discomfort. So I hope this is helping you do some of that. Okay, moving on to the 6 essential elements of a client generation system. In business, in order to succeed, and I don't care if you're a solo coach, entrepreneur, or you're a big business, you got to have a client generation system that consistently attracts high quality clients. Every business owner I've ever worked with, as they grew their business, they learned a little bit about client generation here, a little bit there. Like, okay, I learned blogging, and then I learned a little bit about Facebook ads, and then someone told me about speaking and webinars. And instead of having all of the elements pull in the same direction, so you're working less and getting more results, it just ends up being this big time-consuming mess. So let's walk into what a more streamlined approach to client generation would look like. Now, this is the bigger picture of the system that I developed, all starting with that one question: what works? And today, we went over your introduction, this little element right here. The 6 pieces I'm going to go over now are the heart of this system that will really help you focus your efforts. So let's start by what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain each of these briefly, and you will evaluate your business in each of these areas, because in my work, we dive deep into these areas to set up a complete, simple system with our clients. And I'm going to walk you through the first step we take, which is getting crystal clear about where the opportunities are in your business and uncovering some clues as how you can get better results than you're getting right now. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 is your values-driven profit strategy. And what that means is it actually includes a lot of foundational pieces: developing your vision, your goals, understanding your values, and establishing a pricing and packaging structure you feel totally confident about. Because pricing and packaging, this is one of those never-ending and really exciting conversations. We talk about this in my accelerator program a lot, so that you are finding a way to serve at the highest level and making it easy to ask to be paid what your services are worth. So I want you to evaluate this on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being low and 10 being high, being very successful. How clear are you about your pricing, values, and vision in your business? 1 is low, 10 is high. This is for you. This is not interaction. I'm going to tell you what to do with this in a minute. Number 2 is your proactive marketing plan. This means you have a plan in place that is 100% under your control. It would look like a custom combination of activities you have 100% control over that will bring you the most results, predictable results, with the least effort. This allows you to get into specific focused action so the income is consistently coming in, and making sure your vision that you established in the first element, making sure that vision becomes a reality. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you about your ability to bring in clients consistently? Number 3, ideal client clarity. Now, I know you've probably done some work around ideal client work. I mean, I don't think you can even get through your coaching certification without doing some work around this. Generally, that conversation talks about what is their age, what is their industry, elements like that. Those are important. But I want to give you a little bit of a different perspective, because what is most applicable, and I think the things that will move you forward the fastest, is understanding what are they thinking, what is your ideal client thinking, and where do they gather in high concentration. Those two things will help you just speed up your results. Showing up where they gather in high concentration, that just makes sense, and what they're thinking will lead to the next point. But on this one, evaluate yourself. On a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you about your ideal client? Number 4, magnetic messaging. And this is what we started working on today with that introduction, because the key to this is communicating the value of what you do quickly. So people you meet, they hire you faster. You're not wasting time. So when someone asks you, what do you do? Are you communicating your value quickly? Rate yourself. Now, I should have had you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 at the beginning of this webinar and then at the end. But just overall, how do you rate? I'm going to show you what I consider an 11 on the scale of magnetic messaging. This is Lynn Tumlinson. She's very active in ICF in the Midwest, in the middle of the United States. She is she's growing like crazy, actually, and she's one of kind of my star clients. We decided, oh my gosh, do you ever get to that point where you've got like all these ideas and then just one mouth, everything's competing for the exit? That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna take a breath. Whew. Okay, so her story is that we discovered that her ideal clients gather into high concentration in the golf industry. And so she went to a golf trade show, and by the end, she had introduced herself around and produced 10 leads. Okay, she got 10 great leads at a trade show. And the really interesting thing is she did not have a booth. She was just walking around talking to people, introducing herself, and having people over and over and over say, I need you, let's talk. Now, I think this is impressive just like for anybody, if anybody could do this. But I think because she is a coach, this is particularly impressive. As you know, term coaching is used so generically. People don't understand what a coach actually does. So in the coaching industry, it's even more important to be able to quickly articulate your value, because for her to be able to stand out and not just be another coach and generate 10 leads, that's a big deal for any industry, but it's a monster big deal for coaching. Now, this did not happen in her first draft. Okay, we worked on this, we fine-tuned it. So keep going, but this, if you want to see what a 10 is, or maybe even 11 on that scale, that's what this looks like. That's the kind of results it gets. All right, number 5 is sales and closing. Can you confidently convert a prospect into a paying client? Or if you work in corporate, can you confidently navigate and keep the conversation moving through an organization, getting to the decision makers, getting commitments, so it doesn't take 5 years to actually get an engagement? Rate your ability to close the sale once someone says they are interested on a scale of 1 to 10. Number 6, this may seem a little bit tangential, but time management mastery, because if you feel busy now, once you start getting more clients, you're going to be even more crunched and challenged for time. So do you get your priorities done and have a clear approach to managing your time? Rate your ability to stay in control and focused on your priorities. Okay, so what do you do with all of these ratings, 1 to 10? What I want you to do for first thing is look at where you have a 7 or higher. You want to make sure to like put a star on those things so that you don't lose sight of them. Now, I believe that the opportunities are where the numbers are lower, because that's where you can improve. That's where you can see, make progress. But you don't want to do it at the expense of the things that are already working. So the first thing to do is always acknowledge what's working. Now, the things that are under a 7, these are your opportunities. This is where you're focused. So now, rather than feeling like, where do I start? Or why isn't, I have no idea what's working, you will have a clear starting place. Okay, I hope that is making sense. And the whole idea is to be able to, the whole reason for this process is so that you can be very intentional and complete your client generation activities in a minimum amount of time. When you have a busy practice, you don't want to forget about your client generation strategies. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll do all this work to get clients, you'll put all this effort into it, you'll get the clients, and then you'll stop doing the marketing because it's too overwhelming. And then your clients will roll off, and suddenly you're on the marketing, going into massive action. And that looks like a roller coaster, doesn't it? Massive action, no clients, lots of clients, no marketing. And it just keeps going back and forth. And what you want is a clear, focused plan that can run right alongside a busy business or a slow business. And this is what it looks like, what kind of results you can get running a business, running a marketing plan that is really tuned in alongside of a busy business. This is Julie. She's a financial consultant. She has a busy practice. She has employees, but we dialed in her plan. And I just want you to look at what you can accomplish in a small amount of time. She started this plan with a goal of generating 36,000 US. She exceeded her goal. She raised her rates. She launched an online training program and sold it, and consistently booked speaking opportunities. Like, these are the results that can happen when you're very intentional about your activities. Okay, so let's jump into the next piece, which is, I just gave you all this information, and information without implementation is pretty useless. So I want to make some space here to acknowledge this. And at this point, I want you to identify a bite-sized action that you can take that will make sure that this content that you're receiving is getting implemented. Okay, so take a minute, look through your notes. What is one bite-sized action you can take? Yeah, and I'm not looking for feedback here. This is for you. I'm going to ask for some feedback in a second. Now, bite size is great, but I'd like you to think bigger. Right? If you were to get your introduction in place and all of those elements in your client generation streamlined, what is possible? Now, we've been doing a lot of left brain, logical, strategic, tactical thinking. That's kind of my specialty. But I want to move to the other place, the creative place, the imaginative place. So what I'd like you to do now is put down your pen or your iPad, wherever you're taking notes, close your eyes. I want to do some integration with the other side of your brain. So take a breath. And I want you to imagine having a steady stream of great clients coming in. Clients who pay you what you're worth. You're making a difference. You're getting more well-known for your expertise and what you're truly brilliant at. And to generate those clients, you've got a plan. It's simple. It's full of things that you love to do. You have a clear plan of action. You're always feeling authentic, never pushy. And at the end of the day, instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel accomplished. You know what to do, where to go, and what to say to take prospects from a handshake to signing on the bottom line as a client, with confidence and with consistency and with ease. And this whole plan, this whole vision, it's so beautiful that it puts a smile on your face right now. So take a breath again and open your eyes. Now, what my hope is for you right now is that you are inspired, not just inspired, but you're equipped and you're fired up with what I've showed you. You can really see how customizing and putting some structure around things, you're like, yes, I know what to do. And the challenge that's coming next is that you are a busy person. And without structure and support, it's easy to go back to doing what you've always done. So the question is, how do you keep this level of focus and motivation week after week and month after month? So at this point, you're going to want to identify the next piece that's really important. When thinking about what you want and need in your business, who do you have in your corner who has accomplished what you want to accomplish and is available to help you when you need it most? Now, you may have that support, some of you, but for those of you who don't, I invite you to consider working with me. Now, if you're curious about what that would look like, we make it very simple. You just schedule a session with one of my program specialists. It's a great option. This call is a great option for you if you're feeling stuck and you're not sure why and need a reboot, or you know you need some kind of support, but you can't picture what that would look like. These are complimentary calls. They are really reserved for people who are serious about growing your business. It's not a nice to have. It's I don't see any other option. This is what I was meant to do. I want to make a living at it, and I don't see any other choices. I've got to make it work. So if that sounds like you, on this call, you'll get clarity about your business and you'll understand your next steps. And then you'll decide together if it makes sense to work together further. Because look, working with me, it's an investment. I get it. And I want you to be 100% confident that I'm the right fit for you. So the easiest way to get this appointment is to go to this website, breakthroughcall.biz. It takes you to a simple scheduling page. You pick out your time and you're done. It's one less thing to think about, and it puts you first in line. Now, in case you're thinking, well, that sounds interesting, maybe I'll do it later, I want to give you an incentive so all this good intention doesn't get lost in the shuffle of your busy week. So if you schedule in the next 30 minutes, you'll get my complete ebook as my gift to you. And I want to give you a little bit of perspective on this very quickly. So we're going to go into some Q&A, we'll do the book drawing, and I have a story of inspiration. But one quick thing about these calls are with my team. This may be helpful just in the structure of growing a business for you to know. I want to give you some context. Last year, I got to the point where my systems were working so well, I was generating so many clients that I had to make a decision to either start outsourcing the service I deliver to my clients or outsource the initial conversation. And I tried actually outsourcing the service, like what I'm really great at, and it didn't work well. I just didn't feel comfortable that people were being served at the highest level. And so my choice was to have this initial conversation with my team, who I totally trust and trained myself. That was a hard decision. But I want you to know that if you want to do that call, it's with my team. I want them to be very clear. They're totally empowered to make decisions and help you get clear. But then all service delivery is with me. So that's just the backstory on that. Some people find that helpful. I find context talking about how other people are growing their business is really helpful. All right, so we have time for about 7-8 minutes of questions and answers. And you can ask anything. You can ask about the call. You can ask about your introduction or just whatever is helpful in business. I am here for you. And then we'll do the book drawing. I hope you have sent me your email to mary@simplygetclients.com. That's how you get in the book drawing. And then I have a story to wrap up with. So if you would, Uta, if you would let me know if some questions are popping up into the...
Yeah, I'm looking here.
Okay.
I can't see anything new. Let me check. No new questions.
Okay.
But let me, I would like to give a little bit of feedback on what you've done. I quite liked what you said, and especially I think your tips on creating an elevator speech or, kind of an intro, whatever you want to call it. I found that quite useful. I hear, and you and I, we briefly talked about this earlier, that coaches in the market are actually struggling to find enough clients and to find even, their niche really. Where do they really belong to, or what are they particularly good at? So, and that's what I hear when I meet other coaches in the market, and we are representing here ICF. That's where they feel they would like to get help with. And I kind of think you've addressed that with that piece, which can make quite a difference.
Great. Yeah, and I can share with everybody what we were talking about. ICF as a whole globally has identified the fact that the industry of coaching has hit kind of a plateau with a number of people who are in the industry serving as coaches. Because as many people that are coming in and getting certified or getting trained are the same amount are leaving because they are not able to get clients. I find a lot of this is just based on a lot of assumptions about what you have to be and what you have to do in order to get clients. And I know I struggled for a long time watching people like growing their business, and the way they did it just felt so flashy and insincere. I just couldn't connect with it. And where I got to was if the only way to succeed is to be like that, maybe I'm not going to be able to succeed. And it took me a long time, and I still struggle with this sometimes, but I had to get to the place to go, you know what, I found a structure, I bring who I am forward, and not everyone's going to love me, and not everyone's going to want to work with me, and that's okay. I'm not here to get everything. It's too exhausting. There's a great quote, says, I don't know the formula for success, but I know the formula for failure. Try to please everyone. So I think that a message that's important in coaching is that you've got a lot of great instincts, you've got a great drive to serve, and it's finding the structure and the strategy to take who you are and how you want to be in the world and have it get results. Because it can't just be you being authentic out in the world with no strategy. It doesn't work. The whole idea of build it and they will come. I don't know if you've heard that, but it's not true. There's not some overnight thing that's going to happen. You're going to get discovered. There's work involved, but it doesn't have to be pushy, salesy, flashy, feeling like a bad fit.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There's no questions coming in, Mary.
Okay, so I'm going to do two things, actually three things. Now I'm just gonna do the book drawing, and then I will close up with a story of something I think maybe people could relate to. So a couple people have gotten into the drawing, and oh, look at that. Okay, so I just kind of blindly picked on my phone. I saw the names of the people, the emails that came in earlier today. And so Agatha is our winner. Agatha, I have your email, so I will respond and get you the ebook. That's the gift for showing up for yourself today. All right, I am going to close up with a little story of inspiration. So about, I don't know how many years ago, probably 3 years ago, I was drawing my plan for the following year. It's probably right about this time of year, about 3 years ago. And I was drawing on a whiteboard and connecting all the programs and the people I needed to hire, and just sketching out my plan for world domination, basically. And and as I was doing it, I was getting more excited, but also more and more overwhelmed, because I thought, oh my gosh, am I crazy? Oh no, and what am I thinking? Who do I think I am? All of those doubting thoughts crowded into my mind. And I realized I was hungry. So that was part of the problem. That's part of where the doubts were coming from. So I walked downtown. I walked to a shop to go get something to eat. And the whole time I'm kind of muttering to myself and shaking my head and thinking I'm kind of crazy. And I walk into this restaurant, and what did I see on the wall but this sign? It says, "Go out on a limb. That's where the fruit is." I encourage you to bet on yourself, to believe in yourself, to risk. Because you are your best investment. You are your best bet. You're out in the world to make a transformation. And it takes a little bit of a risk. It takes feeling uncomfortable. I encourage you to go out on that limb and keep transforming lives in bigger and bigger ways. Thank you for having me here today.
I really appreciate your time and the information you've shared with us. I thought it was very insightful. You gave us a lot of tips. I'm sure some of the ICF coaches here in the UAE may reach out to you and or get in touch through ICF. Either route is fine with us. Hold on, I can see now questions coming in. 1 second.
Okay, I have time.
1 minute. I just try to get to the panel.
Yeah, I can't see any of the questions.
Oh, no, it's a lot of thank yous.
Oh, okay.
And then there's one, Fatima says, "I'm a business coach helping leaders to motivate their employees. How is that as an introduction? What do you think of this introduction? I'm a business coach helping leaders to motivate their employees."
Okay, two things.
Is it a recommendable introduction?
What was your last question, Rita?
Fatima's question is what you think of her introduction. And her introduction is, "I am a business coach helping leaders to motivate their employees."
Okay, perfect. I'm so glad we have this because I'm going to get to share a couple of fundamental pieces that will help everybody. So first of all, the question I have for you, Fatima, is does your ideal client know they need a coach? And that's the first question for everybody when I'm working on marketing, messaging, is does your ideal client know they need the services of your industry? For coaching, the answer is almost always no. What they know is they have a problem that they need to solve. They don't necessarily know that coaching is the solution. If the answer to that question, do they know they need your industry's services? If the answer to that question is yes, then you say your title, business coach. If they do not, if they only are aware of the problem or the symptoms, then you don't say it because it will only cause more confusion. They get stuck on what's a coach, what's a business coach. I've heard of a business coach that didn't do anything for me or whatever. They make all these assumptions and there's that, it disrupts the connection. So that you'll have to decide. And then you said, I'm a business coach that helps employers, something about motivating their employees. So there's two things that are missing. One is what is motivating them to need you? What is the problem they're experiencing? Are they experiencing high turnover? Are they experiencing high recruiting costs? Are they experiencing a plateau in their business? What is happening that is a problem that they know they have? And then the other thing is once their employees are motivated, what does that do for them? Does that help them become the most, the best workplace? So it's easier to recruit future employees. Does it increase production so that your profits double? What are the outcomes, the deeper outcomes? Because motivating employees, if someone's looking to motivate their employees, they will say, I need you. But if they don't know exactly that, if they only know the other symptoms or either the problem or the solution, they're going to look right over you and not identify.
Thank you, Mary. I think you gave some good thoughts here, you know, food for thought for Fatima now and probably for some of the other coaches.
Yeah, the real life examples are just where it makes so much more sense because you can really apply it, and it just makes so much more sense than the theoretical that I give on these calls.
Yes. I would also, I would like to say thank you to Mary for your time and sharing. And as you know, please, you know, all coaches listening in today, you can reach out to either the ICF board of directors if you have any further questions, or you've seen Mary's contact details. Mary, there was one more question, whether you are happy to share your PowerPoint. Is that possible?
I'm going to do just a sec. I'm going to put this back up here so people have my contact information. I don't share my PowerPoint. No, I believe this is being recorded, and so you can get the information from the recording.
That's fine also. And anybody who logged in or who registered for this webinar can listen to the recording. So, okay, I've just posted to everybody in the chat room what are our next webinars. So we have on the 26th of November, Ethical Being of a Coach with Margaret Crickbaum. And we have on the 12th of December, the Enneagram Personality System and Coaching with Linda McLaughlin. And also end of November is our ICF conference, which will, I think, be in Media City. But you will receive more information through our usual social media channels on all of those. So thank you very much, Mary, again. And thank you very much, everybody who joined us tonight.
Thank you. My pleasure. Bye.
Have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.